Hi, welcome to Flow and Go. So just a couple of cushions would be good today. If you haven't got them, then you can absolutely manage without. Today's class is going to be looking a little bit into opening the hips and the lower back. And there'll be an opportunity to try out things like one leg dog pose. If that's not in your practice, we'll give that a little go. And a little bit of other balancing work as well. So when you're ready, coming to start lying down on your back. And it's up to you whether you want to keep the knees bent or not. If you're keeping the knees bent, you might want to bring the feet to the outside edges of the mat and allowing the knees to come together. And then hands, arms, wherever feels good, wherever feels natural. Allowing your eyes to close when you get there, and maybe starting today by taking a scan down the body. So starting at the crown of the head, checking in with any places that might be holding on to tension today. So maybe as you work down, you look into the forehead and the space between your eyebrows. Maybe as you exhale, you can find a little bit of extra room in there. Any tightness can fall away. Coming down into the jaw, maybe the jaw can open and relax a little bit. Maybe the shoulders can sink down into the mat. The arms, the hands open out. Maybe there's space to release a little bit more in the hips. Coming down the legs all the way to the feet. And finding a little bit of openness throughout the whole body. As you inhale, feeling your body, all of those spaces that you've just opened and relaxed. Filling them with nourishing oxygen, reaching all of those muscles ready for practice today. And exhaling through the mouth. Letting any remaining tension dissipate, leave the body. One more time, inhaling, filling the body with energy, ready for practice. And exhaling through the mouth. Keeping the eyes closed if that feels good. Bending the knees, bringing the soles of the feet to the ground if they're not there already. Separating the knees to about hips width apart. And as you inhale, drawing the right knee into the chest, interlacing your fingers behind the shin. And then using your hands to help draw the knee up towards the right armpit. So a little gentle opening stretch to start off class. This is quite nice if your lower back's been feeling tight. And then allowing your hands to come up to the knee, holding onto the knee so that you can take some nice broad wide circles with the hip. So you might want to go a few times one way, a few times the other way. You can either hold on with either both hands, or maybe you just hold on with one hand if you want to take a bigger circle. So this is really good here to take these circles with the hips, particularly if you get soreness in the hips or the lower back. Often what we do in our daily lives is quite linear when we think about walking and other exercises, when we think about working at desks. It's not often we're taking our hip through its full range of motion as a ball and socket joint. You might also want to take some rocks forward and back with the knee, so knee drawing into chest and then knee moving away. So when we do these kind of exercises, it not only allows the synovial fluid to secrete within the joint, but it also brings it through its full range of movement, which is important for the health of any joint, to experience its full range of movement. And then allowing that foot to come down to the ground, coming onto the other side. So interlacing fingers behind the left shin as you lift the left foot and drawing the knee up towards the armpit. Taking a couple of breaths here, opening out through the left hip and the left side of the lower back. And then you can move to hold on to the knee with either one or both hands. Maybe you start with both, taking some smaller circles. And then maybe you move to one hand so that you've got a little bit more range of movement, taking some nice big circles with the hip. So it doesn't matter what these circles look like. You can play around with that, whatever feels like it's what your body needs. And maybe noticing if you've got a bit more range of movement with one side than the other. Moving on to those rocks back and forward whenever that's feeling good for you. And then lowering that foot down on your next inhale. And then taking a little windscreen wiper of the legs side to side. So over to the right side, to centre, over to the left side. So as they're coming down, you're exhaling, inhaling to centre. So again, we're looking at drawing the hips, and now we're getting into the lower back, into the spine, through its normal range of movement, to what it can, what the joints can do. Waking up these parts of the body and getting everything moving, ready for practice. And finding a way back to centre. From here, we're going to roll up or come up to seated. So you can either come over to one side using your hands to help you come up, or you can bring hands behind the thighs, lifting the feet from the ground, and then the feet come up and overhead as you rock forward and back. So you're not kind of quite coming all the way up in the first couple of rocks, and then eventually coming up to seat. And from here, however you came up, finding your way onto all fours. So hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath your hips. Drawing the spine long, gaze down. And then taking a few cat-cows at whatever pace feels good for you. So getting a sense of these waves rolling through the spine as you inhale, tailbone lifts, rolling through the spine in a wave, chest opening. And then as you exhale, you're rolling the other way, so tucking the tailbone, and then rolling through the spine as you exhale to round the spine. So inhaling, rolling forward and open again. And as you exhale, if you want to on this time, you can take a little knee hover, pressing down through the hands, and then hovering the knees a few inches from the floor. Lowering the knees back down if you took that knee hover, coming back to centre. And then tucking the toes under, pressing through the hands as you lift the hips back into downward facing dog. And maybe just to start here, keeping the knees bent as you ground down through the hands and focus on the spine being long. So again, looking at the lower back, looking at the spine, at the hips. And then if it feels good and you've got the space, you can begin to straighten the legs, or you can keep them bent. On your next inhale, grounding down through the hands and then lifting up through the right leg, coming into one-legged dog. So lifting through the inner thigh and seeing if you can ground down through both hands equally. And then stepping your foot forward in between the hands when you're ready. So you can use your hand to help it get there if that feels better. Once you get there, lowering down that back knee, untucking the toes, grounding down through the front foot as you rise up into low lunge, gaze straight ahead, arms reaching tall. As you exhale, bringing both hands back down again, keeping the left hand underneath the left shoulder, and then opening up onto the little toe edge of this right foot, using your hand to help open up with the knee. So the knee's opening to the right and the foot's opening up to the right. And then maybe your gaze comes over the right elbow or the right shoulder, coming into a little twist and opening up the hips, the lower back a little bit more. So you can come into this as much or as little as you want. One more breath here. And then foot and knee back to centre. hand outside of the foot, lifting up the back knee as you tuck the toes. Option here if you want to come back into one-legged dog if you'd like to give that a go, or you can come straight back into downward facing dog. So if you're coming into one-legged dog, you're pressing through the hands, lifting up through the hips, grounding down through that back foot as you scoot that foot backwards and lift it straight back up. And then exhale, lowering that foot down, back into downward facing dog. Let's give that a go on the other side. So left foot rises, reaching up to the sky when you're ready. And then exhale, bending the knee, bringing the foot forward in between the hands. Lowering down that back knee, untucking your toes. Pressing through the front foot, finding a place to focus to help you rise up into low lunge, reaching tall, open through the chest. Exhale, hands back down either side of the foot, keeping that right hand underneath the shoulder. And then we'll open up on this side, so onto the little toe edge of the left foot. And using your hand to help open up that left knee, maybe the gaze comes over the elbow or the shoulder on the left side. So not only are we opening up through the left hip and lower back, but you'll also probably find you're getting a little opening through the front of that right hip flexor as well. And then rolling back to center. Hand comes outside of that left foot. And then here, coming back into downward facing dog or one-legged dog. So rounding the toes, lifting the back knee. And then if you're coming back into one-legged dog, lifting the hips to create some space, pressing through the hands, and then the foot comes back, lifting up to the sky. As you exhale, bringing that foot down for one more breath. And then stepping, walking or floating, coming to me at the top of the mat. So maybe coming up onto the tiptoes, creating space, and then coming forward, meeting together in halfway lift, hands to shins or thighs, spine long, gaze straight down to the mat. As you exhale, releasing into forward fold. Inhale, finding that rolling up motion through the spine. As you get there, head comes up last, arms reach out to the side, up overhead, reaching tall, and hands come to prayer. Let's come through one more time, adding in a few extra bits. Inhale, arms reach out to the side, up overhead. As you exhale, hinging at the hips into your forward fold. Inhaling, spine draws long, gaze down, halfway lift. Seeing if you can find openness across the chest in your halfway lift. As you exhale, bending the knees, bringing the hands down by the feet and stepping straight back into downward facing dog. So you might notice here that we're skipping chaturanga today. So this is a chaturanga free practice. So hopefully that's a little surprise treat for you guys. On your next inhale, coming back into that one-legged dog. So right foot lifts off the ground, rises up, leading with the inner thigh. It doesn't have to come up very high. It can be just a tiny bit off the ground. And then bending the right knee, opening the right hip, and maybe the gaze comes underneath the right arm. So seeing if you can ground down equally through the right and the left hand here, still feeling really grounded in the front of the body. Finding your way back to center, straightening out that right leg, and then lunging the foot forward in between the hands at the top of the mat. Once you get there, option this time to keep that back knee lifted. If you'd rather have it down, of course you're welcome to. Bringing the left hand flat underneath the left shoulder. And this time coming into a slightly different twist. So arm opens up, right arm opens up to the sky, fingertips are reaching to the sky. As you exhale, right arm sweeps to the back of the mat and the back foot grounds down. So bringing the back foot flat, keeping a bend in the front knee as the arm reaches forward, rising up into Warrior Two. And then from here, really getting a sense of grounding down through the feet, really solid in your foundation. And then lifting up and out of the pelvis with the upper body, so it's almost floating above the hips. And the arms reach out to the sides. As you exhale, windmilling the hands to either side of the foot, spinning onto the back toes. And as before, option to come from here straight into your one-leg dog, or you can return to downward facing dog if that's better. So lifting that leg high if you're taking one-legged dog. And then exhale, bringing that foot back down. So we'll come through all of that on the other side. Inhale, left foot reaches back and up into your one-legged dog. Bending the left knee, opening the left hip, and maybe the gaze comes underneath the left arm. Holding for one more breath here, opening up through the front of the hip. And then back to center, straightening the front leg and lunging the foot forward in between your hands. Keeping the back knee lifted if that feels okay. Right hand underneath the right shoulder as the left arm lifts up to the sky, reaching tall with the fingertips. As you exhale, left arm sweeps backwards to the back of the mat. And then as it comes forward, you're grounding down that back heel, bending through the front knee and rising up into your Warrior Two. So that can be quite a nice transition once you get the hang of it. It can be a little confusing at first, so if you got a bit lost, just find your way into your Warrior Two. One more breath here. Reaching actively front to the back of the mat, bending through the front knee. And then hands by the feet as you exhale, spinning onto the back toes, and option to come back into your one-legged dog if you'd like. Taking a breath in your one-legged dog, and then exhale, returning the foot down to the mat. On your next inhale, either walking, lunging, floating, coming to meet in halfway lift at the top of the mat. Exhaling, taking a release in your forward fold. Inhale, rolling up through the spine, head comes up last, arms reaching out to the side and up overhead. And then hands come to prayer. From here, option to try a little bit of balancing. If you're near a wall, then by all means, do feel free to use that for support if you'd prefer. So the wonderful thing about this balance is that it really gets into the hips. And actually, if you've got particularly tight hips or lower back, sometimes using a wall can be great because you get to experience the stretch a little bit more rather than having to worry about wobbling. So if that's what you want to take today, then feel free. So I'll demonstrate both ways for you, and then you can go with whatever feels like it's what your body needs. So if you want to come into the balance, then start by grounding down into the right foot. So finding the points of support. So we're thinking base of big toe, base of little toe and heel. So getting a little feel of those three spots on the right foot. And then finding somewhere that you can focus. So it'll be somewhere ahead and maybe slightly down. Bringing the hands to prayer. Bringing the weight into the right foot as the left foot lifts.
bending the knee. And then opening up the knee to bring the left ankle onto the right thigh. Once you're here, then you can begin to bend the knee, almost as if you're coming into chair pose. So the hips come back as you lower down. And it's up to you how low down you'd like to come. So this is the balance here, which we're going to hold for a few breaths. If you'd like to be using a wall, then of course, if you'd prefer, you can be holding onto the wall with one hand and then lowering down and opening with the other. So wherever feels good, taking one last breath wherever you are. And then inhaling, seeing if you can rise up, keeping the foot from the floor, bending the knee. And then maybe you reach the arms up overhead, flex the foot, kicking it out in front for one more breath. And then hands to prayer, bringing everything down, a little shake out with the legs. So if you took that balance, then great. If you took the wall version, that's great as well. So we'll come on to the other side. So finding those 3 points of support on the left foot this time. And then when you're ready, you can either take the balance or you can use the wall. As you inhale, bring in the hands to prayer, finding your spot to focus on, lifting the right leg, opening up and finding your place. And then sinking down from here. Maybe you come down as far as you did on the other side. Maybe you stay a little taller, up to you. Taking a couple more breaths. And then inhale, coming tall, hands to prayer, bending the knee, keeping the foot off the ground if you can, reaching tall, maybe you kick the foot out in front for one more breath, and then hands to prayer, everything down, a little shake out with the arms and legs. So you've probably got one side that feels more balanced than the other. That's very normal and absolutely okay. Find your way to the top of the mat if you moved away. Bringing the feet to a little wider than hips width, so toes are slightly to the outside of the mat and heels are slightly in. Inhale, reaching tall. And exhaling, bringing the hands to prayer, hinging forward. So we're taking a kind of toes out forward fold. And you can have a little ragdoll shake from side to side here. Inhale, rising back up to stand. We'll come through once more. So reaching tall, hands to prayer. And then this time instead squatting down, coming into your Malasana squats. You may need to widen or bring your feet a bit closer. Elbows come inside of knees. And then chest draws towards the hands. Taking one breath here. And then hands coming behind the body, finding a way to sit down, grabbing your cushions if you've got them handy. So coming to sit with the feet out in front. If you notice you get a bit of rounding through your spine, you might want to grab a cushion and take a little sit on top of that. So that tends to help tilt the hips forward and it makes it a little bit more comfortable to sit upright. So by all means, feel free to take that. It's a really nice variation. So finding yourself comfortable in this pose. And then drawing the right foot in, bending the knee, keeping the feet hips width apart. Coming into a twist from here. So holding onto the knee with the left hand, right hand comes behind the body, and then opening out into a twist. If you want it to come a little bit deeper, then you can always bring the left elbow outside of that right knee, palm facing outwards. That will help you have a little bit more rotation to come deeper. So either one, whatever your body's feeling. As you inhale, coming back to centre, opening up the right knee to the ground as the sole of the right foot comes against the left thigh. Might take a little shuffle here, getting into a good position on your hips. Seeing if you can face your body to face the left foot. Inhale, reaching tall, and then exhale, option if you want to begin to take a fold forward. So when we're thinking about a fold forward, it's leading with the chest. So as if you've got a piece of string that's drawing the chest forward. So leading with that as opposed to leading with the forehead. So you'll see when I lead with the forehead, I kind of tend to end up in a rounded position. And when I lead with the chest, the spine stays longer. You're welcome to stay sitting tall here. And you can absolutely bring the cushions for a little platform of support if you don't want to come down too far. So the nice thing about having the cushions is that you can make this feel quite relaxing. Of course, if you do want to come a bit deeper into your fold today, you can move the cushions out the way and draw the head down towards the shin. You can take the bind with the foot if you like. But no pressure to feel that the head has to be on the shin. So feel free to stay nice and high today if that's what your body's feeling. Taking one more breath here. And you'll notice that as you lead with the chest, you get more and more opening through the lower back, through the hips. If you took a fold forward, using your hands to walk yourself back up to centre, moving any pillows out of the way. And then hand underneath that right knee, straightening out the right leg, hands behind the body, little shake at the legs. So same on the other side, drawing that left foot in, bending the knee, hips width apart, and then taking your twist on this side. So maybe you hold onto the knee with the right hand, left hand comes behind the body and opening out as you exhale. Or maybe you bring that right elbow outside of the left knee. Gives you a little bit more rotation. Taking one more breath here. Maybe your exhale helps you come a little bit further round. And then inhaling slowly, making your way back to centre. Opening up that left knee, sole of the foot to the right thigh. And a little shuffle here. Bringing your body to face the right foot. Inhaling, reaching up. And then exhaling, same as before, leading with the chest. You can bring props or cushions for you to come down over. You can fold forward as far as you like, or you can stay tall here if that feels better. Focusing on opening up through the spine if that's how you get the best sort of length in your spine, is by staying tall. So really taking a moment to listen into your body. Be mindful not to overstretch the hamstring. This is your hip, your lower back, and your hamstrings. Everybody's very different. Your week and what you do with your week is probably very different to other people in your house, to anybody else who you might have seen doing yoga. So taking a couple more breaths in whatever position feels best for your body. And breathing space into the areas that you've created. On your next inhale, hands either side of the leg, walking back up to centre, moving any props out of the way, hand underneath the left knee, straightening out that leg, arms behind the body, a little shake of the legs. And then scoot into about halfway up your mat and lowering down onto your back when you get there.
Finishing off today's practice with a spinal twist. So drawing the right knee into the chest, interlacing fingers behind the right shin as you straighten out that left leg. And then keeping hold of that right leg with your left hand. Right arm opens up to the side, gaze over the right arm. And then as you exhale, really gently guiding that leg across the body to the left-hand side. You can roll up onto the left hip if you want here, that will give you more of a twist. And then bringing that knee down any amount across the body. Maybe you allow your eyes to close here, breathing into the openness in the body, the shape that you've created. So spinal twists are great for spinal health. If you experience lower back discomfort, this is such a good way to look after the lower back. On your next inhale, head moves to center first before rolling onto the back. And then bringing that right foot down, drawing the left foot in as well, bending both knees and coming onto the other side. So lifting the left foot, drawing the knee towards the chest, interlacing the fingers, straightening out that right leg. And then holding on to the left leg with the right hand, left arm comes out to the side, gaze over the left arm. As you exhale, drawing the left leg across the body to the right, rolling up onto the right hip if that feels good, coming into your spinal twist on this side. Maybe you get a little free adjustment like I just did. It's always nice when that happens. And then taking a few breaths here in this twist. One more breath here, opening up the body in this twist. As you inhale, your head comes back to center and then rolling slowly onto your back. Left foot comes down, drawing the right foot in, right foot comes down. Right and left knees into the chest, taking a little hug with the hands behind the shins. Inhale, forehead to knee. Taking a little squeeze up in a little ball, squeeze, and exhale to release. Maybe you open up fully, maybe you keep the knees bent, allowing the knees to knock together, feet to the outsides of the mat. Whatever feels good for here, taking any position that you want to for Shavasana. And when you get there, allowing your body to become heavy on the mat. Maybe coming back, taking that scan through the body like you did at the beginning of class, working from the top of the head all the way down to your toes. Releasing tension as you go. And allowing each place that you release tension from to become heavy, to let go, to surrender to the ground. Finding space and openness and heaviness throughout your body. Inhaling one last time, taking a deep breath, filling your body with nourishing oxygen. And exhaling, sigh through the mouth. Allowing the body to sink down further. Taking a few moments here. Complete release within the body and the mind. Allowing yourself to rest for a few minutes. So I really encourage you to take a couple more minutes today, if you can, to continue your Shavasana, this restful pose. I hope you've enjoyed this short flow. Namaste.